Varun Nair needs no introduction. A veteran from Indian Army, transitioned to corporate world in 1999 when he joined Cambridge Technology Partners, a Boston-based consulting company as director of operations. He moved on to Genpact and over the next 14 years adopted multiple key roles as CIO of Europe, site leader Hungary, SVP and business leader IT services and supply chain services, SVP Operations Japan, and so on and so forth. Varun took on his next assignment as COO at Cypharnix, a Boston based global pharma co-vigilance company that was successfully scaled up and absorbed by Covance in 2018. Varun continues to consult the company and was their global head till November 22. An electronic engineer with a master's in computer science from IIT Kharagpur and an MBA, Varun has 45 years of operational excellence in synchronizing, stabilizing, and scaling businesses globally. A people's leader, an adventure enthusiast, a motivational speaker, he has successfully led diverse and large teams globally. Please welcome Varun Nair. Hi, Varun. Welcome to our episode on India's largest military veteran career fair. We are joined by ex-servicemen across the board who are hearing you today. And we're super excited about this session, which kind of outlays the path for many military veterans who are looking at breaking into a CXO level role. And you've done that yourself. So we would love to hear about your fascinating journey and how it's been for you. And we move from there.
Yeah, but first of all, thanks for doing this. I think there is a call beyond just work related to it. There's a call to duty. There's a call to the country. There's a call to the veterans who really done some great stuff. So this is the first time I'm seeing something like this come together at the scale at which you're talking about. And I remember we talked a little bit about your platforms and other things. So when I look at it from a business context now, I think, well, we seem to have the story. You all seem to have the story, right? So congratulations on that. And I'm more than happy to help out wherever I can. Yeah,
Thank you
as
very
every
much.
veteran would. Yeah.
Means a lot. Yep.
Okay. Uh, let's see. Where do you want to start? Okay. Let me just give a bit of an introduction. NDA, IMA, Armored Corps, 20 years, passed out as a lieutenant, went off as a lieutenant colonel, took my premature retirement, worked with the two chief of the army staffs, General Roy Chaudhary, and his personal staff as G1 Systems, and then, of course, with General Malik. Unfortunately, I left just short of the time when Kargil started. Otherwise, I would have really been privy to a lot of stuff there. But it is what it is. So 20 years there, and now when I look back, 24 years in corporate life, and been there, done a lot of things in different regions, and we talked to you about it. Um, uh, and therefore, I always gets asked this question. I mean, why and which is better and things like that. But I leave it for you to, just ask me whatever you want, and I'll frame it for you. And I'm conscious of, everyone who's going to be listening in over here. What makes it really work? Why would you do what you did? And is it really worth taking that swing? Things like that. So go
Sure.
ahead.
Sure. Makes sense. Makes sense. I think one of the key questions, Varun, that we do get asked multiple times is the importance of formal education as people are making the transition. And, I want to tie it back to say, if someone wants to really crack a C-suite role, develop, say, business acumen, financial literacy, how to go about managing cross-functional and, operating in a highly matrix environment, does it really require you to go through a P school, a formal education for yourself to acquire those skills?
Well, here's the thing. If you can, it's absolutely great. It'll only add value. Because when we are in the army, in the navy, in the air force, we are in that secure environment where we're looking, and it's very professional, no question about it. But there's this whole world, corporate world outside, which is very professional too. And getting to know the ins and outs of that is something which will really help you. So I think if you can do your MBA, if you can do skill yourself, upskill yourself, then it's great. In my career, and I was fortunate. In my career, go join the Armored Corps. I was lucky that I could get to be the first officer doing my BTech in engineering, electronics engineering. I was fortunate I got selected, got the right questions, not because I was intelligent. And I took that. I was the first Armored Corps officer to actually do the engineering course along with my signals and the EME friends, etc. And we did it all together for 3 years. And then I did my MTech in computer sciences from IIT Kharagpur, right? And then on my own, I did my MBA in op research and system analysis and all. Now, that's 8 years of studies while one was still working. And sometimes someone would say, "Are you nuts? Well, how is this going to really help you?" And I just said, "I don't know, but this is just a calling, right?" So I was all set to do staff college and everything else, but then by that time I had already decided. Now, in many cases, you've not already decided. You
Yes.
come to that point when there is, the time and there's a gap which is very small, 2 years, 3 years. My advice to all is, gear up, as much as you can. This is the time that you have if you get a study leave or other things. Spend a lot of hours, try and understand what's happening in corporate world, what are the nuances of it, understand finances. Without if you don't understand finances at some point of time, you'll find that, and that's not only true for veterans, it's even true for
Across the board, actually.
across the board.
Yeah, yeah.
You may be the best of the IT guys or something like that, but at a point of time you need to understand the business, because the business is what this is all about. Yeah.
Yes.
So my advice would be, go ahead, pick up as many courses as you can, read more, go on webinars, try and understand more and understand where you want to go. Find your sweet spot. Don't try and say any job is fine. Any job is not fine. You got to specify it to your skill sets and
Yes.
work towards that. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And that remains a challenge, one. That's a very valid point you brought, because as I interact with so many veterans, that's the first question they ask in terms of, which area should I go after, which sectors to track, which certifications to do, which roles to do. And intuitively, I think they just need to introspect and figure out what they are really good at, and then tie it with the competencies they want to do, and then the aspiration comes into the picture.
Yeah,
So that's
absolutely. See, here's the thing, what do we veterans bring to the table? I mean, with 20 years tucked under you, or even 3 years or 5 years, short service guys, in my own regiment, we've got some fabulous examples of how people have done so well once they've left, and joined the corporate world, etc. So when you look at it from that context, what do you really have to do to be able to get there, and what is it that you have? I'll tell you what you have. We have integrity.
yes.
We have discipline, right? We know how to lead men. We know how to be with men. We know what it means to roll up our sleeves. We know how to sweat it out. We know how to live uncomfortably. We know how it is without electricity, I remember Basha's water coming through, the bedrooms falling apart. We know how it is to live through a tough life and tough circumstances. We have that edge. What we don't have is the break.
Yes.
Once you get the break, now how do you get that break? One of the sets of getting that break is to really educate yourself to get up to it. Now, if you don't have that time, then also educate yourself to get to it. You will get your breaks. There is no question about it. There's enough. But do it intelligently. Now,
Yes.
there is so much happening across the globe. Let's take, supply chain. My gosh, there's so much happening on the supply chain. We hear about, you've all these deliveries that are happening, all from end to end, things that you get within Blinkit or something like that. I mean, there's so many of those, right? What's all that? That's all supply chain, right? And well, I've handled supply chain for 2,000 people, right, across the globe for very big companies, etc. Right? But the fundamentals remain the same. They don't change. You still got to negotiate with vendor. You still have to get the right. Okay, so I won't get into all those because it'll just kind of throw you off. But the point is, prepare yourself. If you're a tech guy, right? If you're from the signals, EME, etc., what exactly? You could be a tech person, but are you into networks? Are you into servers? Are you into the line laying? What is it that gets you, right? And then you say, frankly, I don't care. I just need a job. Well, then you'll just get a job. You got to you got to work to it. You got to think through it, and that's the difficult part. It's not about just any generic, because once you step in, you will be a success. There's no reason with all those qualifications which I just talked about. Integrity, loyalty, leadership, motivation, da da da, all of that. That will make you a success, right? But you got to know where you got to be there.
Where you got to fit in. Absolutely, absolutely. Yes. And I think that gets to my next question, which is obviously when people have that technical skills and those aptitude, it's fairly clear for them, at least people know engineering, signals, EME, where they want to go, aviations and so on and so forth. What would be your advice to non-technical folks, to that particular section, which is again a big section for us, if you talk about
My advice to non-tech people is don't worry. You are not non-tech. If I give you a new iPhone or I give you a new phone, you'd figure it out after some time and all that, right? Frankly, get enough to be dangerous, right? Or as you go up there, you'll find that there are a lot of domain experts who you can never compete with them because they've been through it, right? But
Yeah.
you bring in certain smarts which they possibly do not have, right? You bring in organization skills which they don't, which doesn't come as naturally to everyone else as it comes to, someone from the armed forces. It just comes so naturally, right? If you were to instead ask me, what's the one thing that I'd say that you really, really need,
Yeah.
and which could be your drawback, your drawback is attitude. And I'll give you that example. Then when I finally I broke through, I had three, four offers. Okay, you can say because of my technology or where I was in the army and things like that. But when it came to the final crunch, that final question, which the CEO asked me, and he said, "Sir," because I was a colonel, he says, "Sir, when you join us, right, and we are hoping that you join us as the director of operations, whatever, for Cambridge Technology Partners, then at that point of time, you'll be dealing with people who are 20, 25, 30, smart kids who are from IIMs, IITs, really know it. They know better than you, on the field of, because that's what they've been through and all that, right? And they're gonna come and challenge you on everything, etc. You're used to a disciplined life. How, Colonel, tell me, and he repeated this two, three times, Colonel, how is it that you're going to manage this? And I said, what did you just call me, sir? And he said, Colonel. I said, when I walk into your office, I'm only Varun. The colonel goes,
Yes.
because I'm happy if someone, young person would come and sit on my desk here, which is unheard of in the armed forces, and sit over there and says, well, I don't agree with you. I mean, what are you saying? And then I have to convince him that yes, this is why I think this is what it is. Sometimes you get convinced, sometimes you convince the other guy, right? But it's your mindset. You have to be very extremely flexible about how you handle it. And it is just like us always, it's the mission that matters. It's the numbers that matter ultimately. Even when you're talking about skill sets, when you're talking about people skill sets, it's the numbers of that people. How many can you really retain? How many people will be with you? How many people will just walk away because you're the most painful manager, right? Attitude. You're no longer in the army, but the army is in you. So bring out the best part of that. I mean, when and people say, "Oh, that's a disciplined force." I said, no matter how disciplined a force is, no one's going to come up this, running up along with you and getting killed unless and until he really believes in you and you're the one who's leading it. And we have, in the army, everyone's kind of not doctored, trained, passionate about doing that. So don't lose that spirit, but
you got to be flexible. You got to be flexible for
lose
the
that
kind of
stiffness.
people you end up working with. Yeah. And obviously the generations, you look at the spectrum of, different generations that we today work with. So millennials, Gen Zs, and maybe the next one as well. And it's all different working style.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
one size doesn't fit all. And that's I think one of the things which I've heard a lot of HR folks also see veterans struggle in as part of their integration into the roles that they get hired for. To say, how do you ensure that cultural fitment is there, because the cultures are so different, be it armed forces and the corporate setup, the fluidity this side, and obviously the structures and all of that, while being flexible is one, and obviously the teamwork, empathy, all of that. But do you think it's so let me rephrase, do you think it's something that most of us on the forces side are able to crack it, or do they struggle with it because they know they have to fit in, but that's a very different setup that they're getting into from where they've been all along.
Yeah, and I guess it's very individual based, but my sense is 80-90% of the people should not have a problem. If they don't have a problem of, being rigid about their rank, who they are, the number of years of experience that I have, that your experience and what you did in the past got you to where you are. Now show that where you are is what where you want to get to,
Right.
right? So unless and until you deliver to that, and what are the deliverables? And I'll just break it very easy. Best way to remember it, even when you're preparing something, as a framework, I always call the dollar cost framework. Not difficult. You got to know your numbers, right? Your profits, your loss, everything else. You got to understand all of that because that profit is why the business is there, right? Even if our NGOs, they have to make a profit so that they can ensure that the livelihood continues, right? And then it's the customers. No customers know us, right? So you got to understand what the customer wants. Who does he want? What is he asking for? Not what you're going to say, right? So that's the customer angle of it. Your stakeholders, and not only your customers, your own stakeholders. Who's got your back of the company? Who's paying for you, right?
Yeah.
And then you come to operations. Operations, my sense is, the armed forces guys would be great at it because it's just so into our DNA that there's no question that they'll not do a great job. Rarely would I found someone not being able to do that, right? And the last is people, which is again a great strength, right?
Yeah.
How do you motivate people? How do you keep them going? How do you make sure that and as you traverse the journey over, like for example, these 24 years, slowly that CV of yours loses significance. Why? It is your spoken word which carries. They're going to say, by the time you're about 5 years into the system, 10 years into the system, someone's just going to pick up the phone and say, hey, how's this person, Rashmi? I mean, is she, you heard of this person, Rashmi? I mean, what do you think? Because she worked over there and just take her, put the phone down. That's it.
That's it.
Decisions are made like that. So your ability to network, your ability to be known for what you bring to the, so imagine you're stepping in and you're stepping in with a huge advantage of what you have learned these 20 years, right? Or whatever years you've done. And now you just got to capitalize it and build on it, right? So here's a tip off, okay? There's a saying in the army, you can never fool the troops. I'm telling you, apply the same in your corporate life. You can never fool anyone. Don't try and be, keep things under wraps, not do this, because they will know who you are, one way or the other. They will see you in the cafeteria, they'll see you with your boss, they'll see how you behave with them, they'll see what happens when accolades come to you. Do you say, oh, thank you very much, I did it all, or do you say, this is my team, or you read about it, but when it comes to the actual application, then what is your spoken word? So once you break through, it is your spoken word of who you are, which carries true weight, right? And that's a tip off that I'd love to give, and therefore the networking part of it, and that's how you build your connects over the years, right?
Definitely. And I think that's really interesting because we do share a lot with veterans at networking, getting the right mentorship, investing in personal branding. So these are really important. And when you kind of sit with them and to break down each element, then it really becomes very clear that, okay, what exactly do you mean by networking? How do I go about? I've been in this setup for so
I'll tell
long.
you.
I
Yeah.
don't have a social presence altogether, and now you want me to network.
Yeah. And it's strange. Okay, so that's one aspect of it, and because it's such a short duration of what we're talking about, I'd love more questions, but I'm trying to cover a lot more. Is The question is, how wide do you go and how deep do you go?
Mhm.
Because you can't do it all,
Yes.
right? You've got to be dependent on people. But as the leaders, as you become and as you grow in corporate life, right, you'll find that you have to have that innate ability or develop it to know where the problem is. And once you know where the problem is, to know that this is the time you have to get into. There is a time to just delegate it and let the person do it. No different from our missions, right? There's a time you delegate it, and there's a time you just own it and you run with it, and then you step back and give all the accolades to all the people. Can you do that? And I think it comes with over a period of time. It doesn't come naturally, not to all at least. So you've got to work through that. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Absolutely. Any view, and I know we are just, yeah, we're just on time, Varun. Any last thoughts on, we did speak about how veterans and transitioning defense personnel should prepare, but anything specific you just want to leave our audience with to really number one, two, three, must do.
Yeah. I'll tell you, and I'll share this live example. There was a time when I did a I did a startup which did not work. Right, we got funded by Warburg Pincus for $10 million. This was just 3 years out of the army, and I was, and then we did a startup, or not really a startup. I joined another company which really worked very well. It's in the CV sector, and we sold the company after some time. Also, there's a failure there, and there's a success there. And if you ask me, where were my maximum learnings? I'll tell you, it's what happened during the time when I didn't, when the door didn't open for me. So you will come through failures. You will come to times when you will be you're just dependent on your pension, or maybe your wife who's working, or something else that's coming in for you, and you're just on your own steam. How, that's the time you've got to really hold, right? And not hit the bottle or go and binge on smoking or do something else. In fact, on the other hand, I remember that period of time when you're without a job, right? You're without a job. What do you do? How do you address yourself at that point of time? What does society say? It's tough. It's very tough to look at
Very
those sort of things. And how do you go through that? Believe in yourself, believe, and do things with passion, right? I remember for 3 months without a job, and I kept myself so busy, right from physical exercise, doing, going to the library, researching our things, talking to people, trying and understand what's going on, join a course, do this thing. I gave myself absolutely no time. Thank God, there was, frankly, that time the pension was nothing, but my wife was working, and also I could just about manage. And then the breaks came, and the breaks will come.
Yes.
There's no question. It will come. You got to have the passion. You have the willingness to just hang on. Most of us read the If, right? You just got to be there. Just hang in, right? Be passionate about whatever you do. You'll do it well. No question about it. I've seen it with so many of very successful officers who, you know, and and one more thing is, never worry about that you're going to hire someone who you're paying more salary to. It's okay. That's the smarts he brings. It's all right. Sometimes you do it, right? So again, it's the attitude, it's the make, because the mission is most important, the business is most important, but with integrity.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think we just love that. I think staying at it and just being positive through the journey, because as you said, it's not easy for everyone, and everyone goes through their own journey. And
ऊपर वाला है,
ऊपर वाला है.
एक मिलेगा,
Oh,
पक्का.
wonderful, wonderful, Varun. Thank you so much, Varun, for the time today. I think some very, very valid points and insights you shared today, and it was really, really wonderful having you here with us today. And we wish you all the very best. And thank you to all the folks who have listened to today. Thank you.
Good luck, guys. Good luck, everyone. Bye bye.